Hey there, awesome people. Welcome to another episode of the Finnovator with me, Stuart Bell, business coach and founder of Adare Coaching Consulting. This week's episode is called the Apprentice Progression. And the background to this is a model that I developed when I was working with a practice based in Western Australia. And they were bringing on board a new staff member, a new team member, in a situation where they had to make a transition from an existing advisor relationship to a brand new younger advisor relationship. So obviously we did a little bit of work on the transition conversation to make sure it was smooth. But one of the things we also wanted to do is make sure that when we brought on board this new staff member, there was a clear pathway for them to progress from being an associate advisor all the way through the progression all the way to being an equity holder and ultimately an elite advisor. For those of you who are familiar of the journey framework that we use within the program, it's kind of similar. But again, where the journey framework deals with business progression, this deals with staff progression. And since I developed it, it's gone through a number of different stages of evolution to become something that's used when recruiting, when planning out someone's development pathway, when having equity conversations, when doing performance management conversations, and most recently, it's been an incredibly useful tool for professional year candidates. Now, the key thing here is obviously this is an audio medium, and the tool itself is obviously a visual framework. So one thing I would suggest is if you head over to success.adare.com.au and just register to join our free best practice management portal, you can jump in there, and if you just look for the masterclass channel, you can get access to the tools that accompany this, as well as you can get access to the visual sort of recordings for all of the sessions or podcasts. So you can kind of put a face to the name, and you'll get some visuals to go with it. Membership of the community is absolutely free, and it's the same platform that I use for existing clients and also former clients as well. So there's a whole bunch of good stuff in there. So that's that. I hope you enjoy the Apprentice Progression. As always, it would do me a massive favor if you can jump in, leave a review, 5-star preferably, and just leave your comments. We're looking to grow the audience, and obviously listeners' comments and recommendations are a big part of that. Without any further ado, let me hand over. Let's get stuck into the Apprentice Progression. I think it's really relevant to you in particular, Philip. Generally, I think if you've worked with me on client experience or retention or reviews, you'll know that one of the sort of ideas I think is really important to get around your head is, if you want to retain clients, it's important to understand that clients will leave you when they run out of future. So the moment clients think that their work with you is done, they've got as far as they need, that's the point they're going to start to look around. Similarly, if you want to develop people, if you want to bring people through and have them reach that point where at the end of it, they have equity ownership, they're great advisors, they've achieved what they want, they're working with the clients. In other words, the connection between what they've achieved in life and what they've done for the business is so strong that it's just been a marriage. I think being able to outline what that journey looks like is really important. This is a model which says, if you want to go from starting in the industry to being an elite advisor, there's 3 phases you're going to go through, and there's 6 roles along the way. You might start at a different point, but generally you're going to start by understanding how to support. Then you're going to move into an associate role. Then you'll become a principal, and finally you'll reach the top. Within the support role, the first task everybody has to have is really, learn the system. And there's certain things to focus on. There's certain results that they want to be achieving, certain activities and certain KPIs. But really, in order to become a really good admin operator, to understand the system, it's really about getting to the point where you know that you can do the work in an accurate and efficient way. Once you've done that, typically the next phase is going to be, okay, now I understand the system, let me understand the advice. And again, this is about mastering the detail. That point, you typically move from somebody who understands the advice to is able to step in and support the advisor and manage the relationship when it's needed, to being someone who's the key contact. In other words, not only knows the clients, but is able to keep them on track and get on the front foot and have that balance in the relationship, to someone who evolves to becoming the advisor who can lead the relationship, and finally someone who can actually develop other people in the team. In other words, not only are they giving good advice, but they can make it look easy enough to motivate other people to want to do it the same way. Sometimes, and I think in particular, Philip, you're going to recruit a staff member who you want to bring in there. Is that correct?
Yes.
So it's really important that, I think, looking back on that, you can ask the question of yourself and possibly that person. what's the time frame? What's their expectation about moving forward? Do they have the skills? And I think equally importantly, just make sure that you're either sort of aware of or comfortable with what they may or may not have from earlier on, because you don't want people going too far ahead if they don't really understand, at least have an understanding of, the advice and system. As a conversation I had with a gentleman called Paul Roberts, who owned a large family business that had grown from 5 million to 50 million. He said, you know what? His philosophy was that if you're the principal and at any point in time someone doesn't turn up for work, you can jump in and fill their place. Maybe not as well, but you know enough to do the role until they get back. Then you'll be in a situation where your business is never a mystery to you. And I think there's value in at least knowing how things work and at least being able to do a bit of it. That makes sense.
So there you have it, another episode of the Finnovator under our belt as we get stuck into 2024. That's it from me. Reminder, if you want to jump in and grab the visual tool that accompanies this podcast, you can do so by visiting success.ourdairy.com.au. Just register to join as a member and you'll get in there. Check out the masterclass calendar. You'll get a visual side of this as well as a whole bunch of other stuff. That's it from me. Stay tuned for another episode next week.